This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everyone, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Straczynski. On today's show, some major injuries in TNA. Samantha Irving clarifies why she left WWE. Rhea Ripley, is it a legit injury? And this WWE star announces that they have re-upped with the company. We're going to get into all of that. This is your Crown Jewel Go Home show, as well as we'll take a look at some AEW stuff. Doing it with me, as always, helping me sort through the chaos, the mess, this wonderful world that is wrestling. He is the one. He is the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Man, Bound for Glory was pretty sweet, man. Not going to lie, never been to the Wayne State Fieldhouse. It held up. I thought that for a show of that magnitude, for what TNA was able to accomplish, I just thought that the wrestlers showed out. It was basically their, TNA's WrestleMania. It was crazy to see John Bradshaw Layfield there. Bradshaw was there.
It's like your second run-in with him in, 3 weeks?
Exactly. It was so cool to see him out there, and I got to say it. There's certain guys that have the aura. They have it. Joe Hendry, everybody's got to experience his entrance once in their life. It was awesome. It was a special ode to Eminem. But then he did his entrance, and it was just a great card, top to bottom. Seeing the Hardys in a ladder match was off the chain. Seeing a dude fly into a table within 100 feet of me was crazy. Security had to get in front of me because I was about to run in there and get into the shot, but I held my ground. It was fun as hell. The field house was intimate. It was a great experience. And TNA, man, they got some momentum, and unfortunately in news, we'll talk about some unfortunate news that happened at the taping the next night. But TNA, good show, Bound for Glory. Check it out. I thought that it really held up. Unfortunately, you can debate should Joe Hendry have gone over, but man, Nick Nemeth doing his thing outside of WWE, and it was a fun event all the way around. And I'm hoping that the Saudi show, Crown Jewel, is also as impactful, because it's really one of those shows that is intended to make the Saudis happy. It's a paycheck. It's a big one, but look, they got a nice gaudy belt. It's going to stay there. But Triple H said on Friday afternoon that the champion, the two champions will get a ring that kind of symbolizes the Super Bowl, and we'll see who collects the rings. And we'll preview it, and it'll be a fun show. But it was a good week of wrestling. A lot of good programming across the board, top to bottom, in all three big promotions.
Yeah, definitely a lot of good wrestling. Do you want to start with Crown Jewel, or would you prefer to start with AEW? You've kind of given us a bit of an inside look at what took place with TNA, with Bound for Glory. Like you said, we've got some injury news that we're going to discuss a little bit later on in the show. But do you want to go with AEW, or would you prefer to start with WWE?
No, I'm interested in Crown Jewel, because I think that the card is perfectly set up. You now have opportunities to take the next step in a lot of these feuds. And I do think that the match that I think excites the most people is Gunther versus Cody Rhodes. I love the fact that Gunther has been interrupting Cody in his entrance, the disrespect, the back and forth. And I do think that the Bloodline story is going to be very interesting, as well as Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, and that whole drama has been very interesting. Crown Jewel has a chance to be a great opportunity for WWE fans. Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m.
Yeah, definitely. Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m. on Peacock. Like you said, this is one of those pay-per-views, too, where we're kind of deviating from what the norm is. Normally, what WWE has done is they've given us a pay-per-view with approximately 5 matches. This one has a little bit more of a bloated card. I think when I count, we've got, about 7, it looks like 7-8 matches on this card, as of right now, which is a bit of a change than, like I said, the norm. Normally you're getting a card a little bit more stacked like this for a Royal Rumble, for a WrestleMania. Most of these, and I'm going to call this a B-level pay-per-view, most of these B-level pay-per-views, they're very concise. You're basically in and out in about 2.5 hours. You've got 5 matches. Everybody gets time to tell their story. This one's a little bit different. Do you like the bigger card for this specialty show? Because Crown Jewel, they've done a good job working storylines into it, but it is still a specialty show. I still, and I don't know if I ever will look at these Crown Jewel events as being legit pay-per-views. I look at these kind of like you said. These are put on for the Saudi government, and there's some sports washing that goes on, and there's a lot of political stuff that we could get into, but we're not going to. With these more stacked cards to kind of entertain the masses that are there, is this as enjoyable for you watching stateside, taking time out of your day, 1 p.m. in the afternoon on a Saturday? There's a lot of college football going on. Is this going to be able to pull your attention away from that and invest the time to sit down and really enjoy all of these matches instead of kind of being in and out with what we've seen with some of the other pay-per-views that we've had in the past?
Yeah, it's always tough. Typically on a Saturday card, I will watch the match that I want to see. So there'll be 2 matches clearly with the Bloodline and with Cody Rhodes that I'm going to pay attention to, and the rest I'll probably tape. But yeah, I'll be intrigued when I get a chance to sit in the office and watch the show top to bottom for prepping for the show. It'll be eventually, I think this card will be telling. And look, it tends to be predictable, but I do like the grand stage. I do like the big set. And I do think that with WWE and with AEW, when they're given time and when wrestlers are given opportunity to tell their stories, WWE delivers at a high level. So I'm excited for the opportunity for them to get after it.
Yeah, I think this is one of those cards where, because of the way Triple H has kind of ran things and conducted these pay-per-views, this could be a very, very good show. And let's kind of just jump right in. Like I said, I think it's about 7 matches we've got. Kicking it off, we've got the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. It's a fatal 4-way tag match. You're going to have Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defending their titles against Kairi Sane and Io Sky versus Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Who do you think comes away with these tag belts?
It's crazy, right? Because Chelsea Green's done some crazy work, right?
She's been absolutely exceptional. Exceptional.
But I don't know. We've been talking about it for quite a bit. Do you keep having these title belts change? I think the champs retain. I think it'll be a great match, maybe a candidate to start the show, but I think the champs retain. But I definitely, would not be surprised if Chelsea Green gets a little bit of love.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit divided here, right? I feel like we've been talking about Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair breaking up forever and a day. And we really haven't had it yet. We really haven't seen, they haven't really given us anything to really kind of build upon that. I know that the two do want to face each other at some point. So is this the time when WWE is going to pull the plug? You've got somebody in Chelsea Green. Piper Niven's right there. Chelsea Green has done exceptional work lately. She's been very entertaining. She's been great. Do you put the tag belts on her? And does she feel like she's a legit champion? Or Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson have been getting a really good run lately. They've been on a lot of programming, whether it's Raw, whether it's SmackDown. Obviously, they're coming from NXT. Do you put the tag belts on to NXT talents, really help kind of bolster what you've got going on with NXT? Obviously, you've got some crossover action going with wrestlers from Monday Night Raw, wrestlers from SmackDown showing up on NXT. Do you now put the women's tag team championships on ladies from NXT? I think this might be the time to do it. I think you go Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair. I think you give them a reason to split. You give them a reason to be upset with each other in this match. I think you finally put these belts on Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, and you give them a bit of a run. I think Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are kind of in the background, and I think that they are probably your next tag team champs. I don't know how long Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson keep those belts, but I think you keep Chelsea Green and Piper Niven kind of chasing and chomping at the bit. But I see these two women from NXT walking away as the champs. I think it adds a little bit of drama, adds a little bit of mix. You can then separate Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, let them go do their solo thing, and have them face each other if that's where you want to go with it. You've got a lot of time here to build towards the Royal Rumble. You got a lot of time here to build towards WrestleMania if that's what you want to do. at WrestleMania. So I think this kind of helps lay some of that groundwork and gets things going. Look, I could be totally wrong here. I just think at a certain point you got to pull the plug. These belts haven't really been defended all that much, haven't really been elevated at all with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair holding them. So I think maybe we do a little bit of a change here. Our next match, Roman Reigns and the Usos taking on the Bloodline. Now, this is a 6-man tag team match. And I think the big question involved here, and you've seen a little bit of it on Monday Night Raw, and you've seen a little bit of it on SmackDown. Usos obviously have come back together. But Sami Zayn is kind of the odd man out right here, right? Does Sami Zayn end up joining up with the Usos and Roman Reigns? Or, like we've seen on Monday Night Raw, where he's having a conversation with Solo. What's going on with him and Solo? Does he get involved with the new bloodline, or does he stay true to the OG bloodline? Do you see Sami Zayn getting involved in this match? Sami Zayn has had a bit of a change of heart with these Saudi shows. He tends to attend them now, whereas before he was very steadfast with going to them. So I don't know if he's going to be on the plane to go, but I myself think he plays an integral role in this match. I just don't know what he does. Do you see Sami Zayn playing a part in it?
Absolutely. I think that Sami Zayn would be a wasted opportunity for WWE. I think it's a great opportunity to tell the story. And I think that, the Saudi show tends to kind of, favor the faces a little bit. So I will think that Sami Zayn it'll be conflicted. They'll ramp up the drama. Maybe a brief second you think it's going to be, he's going to join Solo, but that would be crazy. That would be a real plot twist if he does join with Solo Sikoa. But I just think that the original foursome would be amazing with the Usos, Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn, and it'll be a pop for the ages when it does happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. It'll be a huge ovation if and when this does happen. How do you see this match playing out? Does Sami's interference or does Sami's involvement help Roman Reigns and the Usos, or does it better the Bloodline? I feel like the Bloodline, the new Bloodline, hasn't really gotten a decent run against the Usos and Roman Reigns at this point. I don't feel like they've had that match where they've ended up with the upper hand. Now, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in between the matches and a lot of stuff that kind of adds and kind of builds towards a match like this where they get the upper hand, but in the ring, I don't feel like they've had the upper hand. Do they get the upper hand here? And is it Roman Reigns and the Usos taking the L?
Hell to the no, they don't get the upper hand. Roman Reigns and the crew go over. They go over in a big way. Spear Central. I think that it's going to be, cookie cutter. One of those deals where they could tell you beforehand what happens. You're still going to watch it. A new Samoan's going to show up. Solo brings the next one up to the crew, and you think it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then Sami is there for the rescue. Because think about it, cuz you got to set up Survivor Series. You got to set up War Games. You need as many participants as possible. You could have actually 2 War Games with the Civil War going on, and then anything else with Cody Rhodes and everybody else. You could do that, or however you could do it. But I think you need as many members as possible. So, in my opinion, it'll be Roman Reigns getting the loud ovation, spearing Solo for the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think Roman Reigns and the Usos get the win. I think Sami Zayn plays a monster part in this. Unfortunately, I don't think the new Bloodline gets that match that they're looking for where they get the upper hand. It's just going to be more kind of building towards Survivor Series, building towards that War Games match. I think this is going to be one of those matches, though, that can really tear the house down. I think the crowd's going to go nuts. Like you said, I think when Sami gets involved, it's going to be a monstrous ovation. And it'd be fantastic to do it here because, obviously, Sami Zayn being of Syrian heritage, he's Arab. Saudi Arabia, obviously an Arab nation, so it'll be a great applause for him when it does happen. Our next match, Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. This one's got a little bit of a blood feud feel to it right now. I think this is just the first chapter in a very long story. I can see this going at least 3 matches, and I think to kick this bad boy off between these guys in their first chapter of what looks to be possibly 3 books, the way I've got it written out, I've got Kevin Owens walking away the winner here. How do you see this one playing out?
Agree. I think that Kevin Owens got some momentum, and you have an opportunity for, really this program should set off Kevin Owens for the next phase. I think it's great. I think Randy Orton is the perfect individual to, because you can involve Triple H a little bit, which they did on SmackDown, where he's like, I'm going to call Triple H out here, and Triple H's music plays, and he gets out there and he's got to deal with Randy Orton, his frustrations, and Kevin Owens, and the heel turn that he's had has been remarkable. He probably will play. He has an opportunity to play the heel in a great way. I'm looking forward to the match. It has a chance to be chaotic, and I think that also suits what Kevin Owens brings to the table with his role in the company. So it's going to be great to see, and I think working with Randy is just going to be perfect for Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Look, Kevin Owens, obviously, consummate pro. And I can see these guys building towards something really, really special. Maybe it takes place at WrestleMania. Maybe it takes place at the Royal Rumble. But I see this going a long way. I don't see this being one of those brief run-ins between the two. I think this is going to be a long-term story, which I'm looking forward to. Our next match, the United States Championship, is on the line. LA Knight defending his belt against Andrade and Carmelo Hayes in a triple threat match. You had this set up last week on SmackDown. Really interesting with LA Knight playing as the referee between these two in a match. He gets involved, ends up knocking everybody out, and walks out of the building holding his belt. Next thing you know, we've got this triple threat match set up for this pay-per-view. How do you see this going? Does LA Knight retain, or is this a chance to put a belt on a young up-and-comer in Carmelo Hayes, or do you maybe put it on a guy like Andrade? And Andrade is a guy who's been very vocal about not really getting a championship run, not getting a belt. Andrade has also pointed out that Triple H doesn't book minorities incredibly well. Is this a chance for maybe Triple H and creative to maybe right some of these wrongs? There's a lot of different ways you can go with this. How do you see this one playing out?
Right, and then you could extend the feud with Andrade and LA Knight if you wanted to do that. But I just think that you give the belt to LA Knight, you can't take it off of him this soon. I just think it would be devastating for LA Knight in his run. I mean, I don't think he's ready to move up to championship caliber, world championship caliber matches. I think that you got to continue to build LA Knight. I thought you got him from where he was as a mid-card guy to an upper-level talent with a belt, and this is one of those deals where you have an opportunity to continue the run with the U.S. title. I think that it's not the 80 days hasn't been up yet. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if the facts say his 82 days are up. I need it to be 182 days because LA Knight with the belt, I still think he's got to do better. I think that his character is at a point where it needs to take one more step up the rung. And I think a win here and a great match too will elevate everybody involved. This is going to be a crazy match. This one has a chance to be match of the night in my mind.
Oh, most definitely. I think with Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, both these guys can fly around the ring, and then LA Knight is a pretty powerful guy. You've got a lot of contrasting styles in the ring, and contrasting styles make matches. We say it all the time. I think this is going to be a fantastic match, but I think you're right. I think LA Knight retains. I think you could make the argument that Andrade comes away the champion. I think you can make the argument Carmelo Hayes comes away the champion. I think you keep the belt on LA Knight. He is still over with this crowd. It feels as though his bit is starting to get a little long in the tooth, but that being said, he still gets a pop. He still gets a reaction. I don't think you pull the plug yet. I think we are approaching that time, though, but I think right now, you keep him as your U.S. champ. I think he's done a fantastic job. Our next match, Bronson Reed taking on Seth Rollins. Bronson Reed's the guy who laid out Seth Rollins earlier in the year, 6 tsunamis. Seth Rollins has come back, and he has basically put his scope on Bronson Reed, and he's looking to shoot. Does Seth Rollins take out Bronson Reed, or does Bronson Reed, as you say, level up and beat Seth Rollins to walk out of Saudi Arabia as the victor?
Man, it's tough, too, because this was probably the toughest card. This is the toughest match on this card to predict. I look at it, and I see that Bronson Reed is definitely going to benefit from working with Seth Rollins. You've seen kind of how Bronson has gotten over on Seth a couple times, and then Seth has gotten over a little bit with his returns. But in my opinion, you got to just go with the bigger wrestler, and the person that's the bigger star here is Seth Rollins. So I would not be surprised if Bronson Reed wins this match, but I think Seth Rollins has to get back on track here with a win.
I think Seth Rollins is at a point where he's a guy who can take a loss, and I think this is your opportunity to really build a guy like Bronson Reed. And this is my problem with this, though. I don't necessarily know where we go with Seth Rollins after that. I don't necessarily know where we go with Bronson Reed after that. I don't know if these guys continue to have this blood feud and they just kind of continue to build with it. But I think Bronson Reed gets the win because this is your opportunity to really help elevate this guy, to really help put him on the map. He needs a win like this. Since he's been back, he hasn't really had that signature win. This could be that signature win that really helps catapult him up the roster, and all of a sudden, it doesn't feel like Seth Rollins is punching down to the mid-card. He gets a win here. Now it feels like Bronson Reed is in that upper mid-card, on the verge of becoming one of those main event guys. Seth Rollins isn't, I guess, belittling or lowering himself to go down and fight in that weird mid-card area that some guys never get out of. So I've got Bronson Reed getting the win just because I feel like he needs it more. I don't really know if that's a great reason, but just the way I see it playing out, he needs this victory. Seth Rollins can sustain this loss, and you can do something with Seth Rollins going forward after this. Bronson Reed, I think, needs this to help elevate where he's at and his trajectory in WWE. Next, we've got champion versus champion. We've got Nia Jax taking on Liv Morgan. This is for the second largest title belt you've ever seen in your entire life. These Saudi belts are massive. They are gaudy. They look like they cost a fortune and could support all of Ethiopia for millions of years. These things are huge. I think the big story with this match, and it's something that has kind of permeated around Nia Jax, does Tiffany Stratton get involved here? I can see Raquel Rodriguez playing a part in helping Liv Morgan get a win, but does Tiffany Stratton cash her title chance in here? And if so, does she cash it in on Liv Morgan or does she cash it in on Nia Jax? Before we get to all of that, I want to know, who do you think wins this match? Because I've got Liv Morgan winning it. I've got Raquel Rodriguez playing a little bit of a role in it. I think this could be a lot of fun. I think Nia Jax has come a long way. I think Liv Morgan has done a really good job here, incredibly recently. There are some things that haven't gone well with her, particularly surrounding Rhea Ripley, but I think she's done a fantastic job, and I'll kind of highlight some of her greatness a little bit later on in the program in the news and notes segment. But I think Liv Morgan gets the win here, and it helps set up what may come later on. Who do you have winning, Nia Jax or Liv Morgan?
Yeah, it's interesting, too. If you got a chance for a free hour, Liv Morgan had a great interview with Logan Paul, and she's talking about her sexuality. Logan Paul is just like, so, what happened with you and Dom in that room? And she actually played into the bit, and it was just like, oh, this is very entertaining. And I just thought that she carried herself well. And she kind of talked about what it's like when a performer gets talked to, and the way that WWE tells it is they say, well, we kind of got to have you grow up a little bit. And she's like, oh man, that means they want me to dress up a little bit more sexy. But she embraced it, and I thought it was best for business. But on the other side, I can't have such a heavy face program here where everybody that's popular wins it. I think Nia Jax is the bigger. Look, Liv Morgan's the bigger star, but I think Nia Jax needs this win for a little bit more credibility for her reign. And I know there could be a chance for chaos and all that. Yeah, Rodriguez probably will play a part in all of this and all of that, but that means Stratton can come and come to the rescue and help her gal out. But I can't see Nia Jax losing because she's bigger. I think she's stronger, and I think that she's now the apple of Creative's eye. And until further notice, she gets the W's in these matches.
All right. Well, then, does Tiffany Stratton cash in here, and does she cash in on Liv Morgan?
Nope. I think that could be something that happens, but I think that you got to do it stateside. Tiffany Stratton's huge. I think that you pull the trigger at Survivor Series.
All right, interesting. So, look, forever and a day, I'm just going to keep saying Tiffany Stratton's cashing in. It just kind of feels like we are on the verge. We're on the precipice of her cashing in that Money in the Bank briefcase. So, I think Liv Morgan gets the dub, and I think Tiffany Stratton cashes in on Nia Jax. I think Raquel Rodriguez plays a huge part in this match in helping Liv Morgan get the victory. And I think this is a way to put the title on Tiffany Stratton. We'll see where we go from there.
One of these times you'll be right.
Yeah, one of these times. The last time I'll be right. All All right, our next match and our main event, at least the way I've got it laid out here on the card. We've got a champions versus champion. We've got Cody Rhodes taking on Gunther, and this is for the largest title belt ever made, known to man. Again, supporting all of the poor nations of Africa for 37 years. This belt is gargantuan. It looks like it is millions and millions of dollars worth of jewels just encrusted in it. It is absolutely crazy what the Saudi government will pay for. I think the bigger arcing story here, right? Not so much who wins this match. Again, these are weird shows, and I don't necessarily think a whole lot really comes of it unless you're changing a title or you've got somebody interfering with a match. But speaking of interfering with matches, we were kind of leaning into a little bit with WWE programming that Goldberg was looking to get with Gunther and they were looking to have a match. And rumors are swirling that Goldberg is in Saudi Arabia. It sounds as though WWE is working with him again. So if that is the case, and the rumors are true, does Goldberg play a role in this match? And does he maybe distract Gunther, allowing Cody Rhodes to get the victory? How do you see that playing out if the rumors are true?
Oh, that'd be crazy. Listen. Goldberg is somebody that probably wants to close his career on the right note, not having been known to botch a match and be known for, the last couple matches that weren't that great. I could see that happening. I think that Cody Rhodes probably just needs to win straight up. But hey, if you can establish a feud, or quite simply, if Cody Rhodes wins, Gunther gets on the mic, says some shit, and then Goldberg comes out, you could have a pop. But to me, I think there could be a swerve. I'm predicting officially that Cody Rhodes wins it. But the fan in me wants to see the kickoff of what could be the road to WrestleMania. And I want The Rock to come out as a surprise and cost Cody in Saudi in front of everybody and let Gunther win it. That would be a mark out moment because you'd have the crowd be shocked. You'd have, something that Cody wanted to win be taken away. Gunther can stand proud, and you can kick this forward. I don't think it'll happen, but it'd be something neat to do to sort of swerve people because, you've already started to see the leaks of Goldberg being there, and that sucks. You just can't hide people anymore, and Goldberg probably taking pictures with everybody going, hey, I'm here. And they're probably like, Bill, don't you know you kind of got to keep it private that you're here, that you're in the show? He's like, but I'm here, and I got fans. And Triple H is probably like, Bill, do you understand what I'm saying? No, what are you saying? and
he smashes his head into another locker on his way to the ring.
Exactly. And Triple H
too many concussions for my man.
Yeah, Triple H is just like, this guy doesn't get it. Like, Bill, if you're here, then everybody kind of knows why you're here. And Bill's like, yeah, I'm famous. It's like, okay, Bill, work with the parameters of the show. Think critically. But I'm curious. I can't wait to see this match. This one is going to deliver two big time wrestlers, Gunther and Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes gets the pop, and he ends the Saudi night with a big ovation.
Yeah, I think Cody Rhodes gets the win, and I think Goldberg plays a part in it. I think there's a bit of a distraction. You know what I could see happening? I could see Ludwig Kaiser playing a role in trying to trip up Cody Rhodes, and Goldberg's there to kind of stop him, and it distracts Gunther enough for Cody maybe to get the worst finish, in your opinion, a roll-up win, and leave Saudi Arabia with the gigantic belt. And I know you'll be pissed about it, but we both kind of see it the same way. Cody Rhodes wins. To recount the card, we both have Cody Rhodes winning. You and I differ quite a bit on this card. This usually doesn't happen. We're normally in lockstep. I've got Liv Morgan winning. You've got Nia Jax winning. I've got Bronson Reed winning. You've got Seth Rollins winning. We both have LA Knight retaining his U.S. championship. We both have Kevin Owens winning. We both have Roman and the Usos winning against the New Bloodline. And then we've got different women tag team champs. You've got Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair winning, and I've got Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson getting the dub and becoming your new tag team champs. We look at calling the card quickly. I've got a 3-point lead on you. There's definitely going to be a point that is going to be exchanged here, I believe. So 6.5 to 9.5. Like I said, I've got that little bit of a lead on you. We'll see if you close the gap or if I extend it out. Let's jump into some AEW stuff. So this was a pretty decent episode of AEW Dynamite. Thought it was good. Some of the main things I took away, and this is specifically regarding the Jon Moxley storyline that we've got going on with the BCC, how they're going around beating everybody up, and They're just kind of running roughshod over everybody right now. To me, the thought that I had, and this occurred when Jon Moxley had Wheeler Yuta's head strapped up in some chairs, and they were going to sacrifice Wheeler Yuta to get Orange Cassidy to come out. I don't know who Orange Cassidy is in my theory that I've got going on here, but they end up getting Orange Cassidy to come out. It all kind of breaks down. Wheeler Yuta was not necessarily in on it, but he's not turning his back on the BCC as he starts to stomp Orange Cassidy. A lot of the good guys come out of the back, and next thing you know, Darby Allin comes dropping in from above, similar to Sting back in the day. The thought I had, and the thing I said out loud, I was like, this is an updated NWO storyline. They basically took what happened with WCW. They took the NWO storyline, and they've kind of revamped it a little bit. And this is a bit of a retelling with some different guys, and they're doing some similar stuff. And in this storyline, Darby Allin is Sting. Darby Allin is the guy who's there to save AEW. Darby Allin is supposed to come out of this as the bigger star, or the biggest star. I'm not 100% sure who Orange Cassidy is in this storyline, in this revamped version of this NWO telling. But I do want to get your thoughts on what I'm saying here, on kind of what I'm going with Jon Moxley basically being the leader of this retrofitted NWO. Instead, it's the BCC, again, a 3-letter acronym. And Sting, basically his role is being reprised by Darby Allin. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree. I think that the villain is Jon Moxley. He's the one that believes that a takeover is needed. And then you have Darby Allin, who's going to be the individual that fights the anti-hero. And it's the good versus evil, and David versus Goliath. And Darby Allin's going to be the one that's going to have to stand up to the big bad club. And I think that Darby Allin has the chance, especially coming off of the work that he did with Sting. It does have the feel of like, hey, this is somebody that can be the standard of valor, the guy that can be fans can be proud of, that can battle. And even though he might take a beating, he might be somebody that can come back and have some good matches. And it's a good storyline. Is it unique? Not really. Is it something I'm focused on heavily? No. I was actually popping more for the tag title change than this. But it's part of the show. It's heavily invested. It's Jon Moxley. You know, cause I hate to say it, Jon Moxley, when he was Dean Ambrose, was crazy. He got to his point now. I thought that he peaked with his first couple years in AEW. But now I just think the character needs something a little bit more. I don't know what it is, but the character is like the same. It's crazy, aggressive, violent guy. And it's kind of the same promos. I don't know what the next level of his progression as a character is, but we'll see. And the BCC is cool. It's just not, to me, not the focal point of what I like. I've liked seeing some other things that shook out with Adam Hangman Page. I kind of liked on Dynamite. I kind of liked that what was more showcased in the first hour in the mid card than a little bit with the highlights of the show with the big timers. Yeah, and look, I would agree with you. I thought the Private Party finally winning the tag team championship, I thought that was awesome. I thought that was one of the best matches of the night. I thought it was absolutely great. And I think what you got to see with that too is we were a little bit critical of Private Party not getting the win at the last AEW pay-per-view. We were a little bit critical of Private Party not pulling the trigger with the tag team, with them being tag team champs earlier in their career. We're now 5 years in. These guys finally ascend to the mountaintop, and they finally get the win. And I think beating Matt and Nick Jackson, who reports are they're going to be off TV for a while. Part of the storyline is everything going on with Jon Moxley and the BCC and them maybe running a little bit scared. In reality, it sounds like Nick's dealing with a separated shoulder, and the duo is a little bit banged up. This was the perfect time to transition and get the belts on Private Party. The crowd reacted. The crowd popped. I thought that was a fantastic match of the evening, and I applauded it. I thought it was absolutely great. I did it as well. I thought it was a situation in which you elevated people and the crowd liked it, which was very much a plus. And as well, what was a plus was the debut of Bobby Lashley. I thought that was sweet, the way they showcased it. Still, the crowd at AEW kind of has the feel of like not understanding the moment, not understanding the magnitude of like you just got the Hurt Business back. But it was cool to see, Shelton Benjamin do his thing when Bobby Lashley confronts Swerve Strickland. I thought that was awesome. You realize that everybody involved is going to be elevated, and you just realize that, okay, for the time being, this faction with the Hurt Business is going to, whatever they call themselves now, is going to be great. It's going to have an opportunity to kind of right some wrongs that happened before. And Swerve Strickland is going to continue to evolve and have an opportunity now to battle with some big timers. And this is going to be perfect for Swerve and perfect for Bobby Lashley too. I just wish the crowd, it's, unfortunately, cuz, I don't know if you notice it. I mean, I'm not that much of a sound snob in regards to wrestling shows and stuff like that, but there's a noticeable difference when there's a pop in WWE than when there is in AEW. It just felt like it felt like there was a limit, and the crowd just didn't exactly pop to the degree I thought they would when Bobby Lashley was there. So it kind of was unfortunate that it wasn't on a bigger stage.
Yeah, here's the thing. This is my issue with his debut, right? I'm excited that Bobby Lashley's there. I think what they've done with Shelton Benjamin, thought he looks great so far,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Up until this match against Swerve Strickland where he ends up losing, but even in a loss, I thought he looked really, really well. I thought Bobby Lashley's debut was maybe a little bit rushed. And let me explain. We've all kind of known that this was coming along. We knew this was the deal. I thought the execution of this was a little bit poor. What I felt like you could have did was you could have let Swerve beat Shelton Benjamin, which I probably wouldn't have done, but if we're going to help move the story along, let's move it along then. I think you have Swerve beat Shelton. It's fine. We'll move it along. You see MVP on the phone making a phone call, and basically you fade to black, and you come back next week and you address what was going on. And basically it's MVP saying, don't worry, Swerve, we got something coming for you. And that's just kind of what you leave it at, right? And you don't put a date, you don't put a time on it. You just say, we got something coming for you. And when you least expect it, it's going to hit you like a Mack truck. And then you could let a week, maybe 2 weeks go by, and then next thing you know, Bobby Lashley shows up. You got Swerve in the ring. You can have MVP come down if you want, and you can have him introduce Bobby Lashley. I think that would have been a better way to do it. I think you would have built a little bit more intrigue. You would have got fans talking. You would have had a little bit more interest in this storyline. Instead, you kind of have the lights kind of go off. Your MVP's on the phone, lights kind of go off, then lights go all the way off, and then you've got Bobby Lashley's music that kind of hits, and then Bobby Lashley comes out in what looks to be a maroon leather suit, which was kind of cool, but had to be uncomfortable as fuck to wear, and ends up beating the crap out of Swerve. And, okay, cool. We got it, but I felt like you could have really have just drawn this out and drawn some interest in the storyline. And this is kind of the issue I think that we have a little bit with AEW. It's pacing. It's pacing stories, and it's pacing television, and it's pacing pay-per-views. You don't usually let anything breathe, and this is a spot where you could have really have let this breathe and just kind of ferment for 2 weeks, 3 weeks if you really wanted to push it out that far, and you probably would have got a bigger pop. You probably would have got a bigger ovation. I know that he's been on the books for a little bit. We've all known that he's been with AEW for a minute. I know he's making rounds and he's talking to people. I get it. I understand that he's a new toy and you want to debut him, but you could have really have developed some interest and some intrigue, and you could have added a few more layers to this story with Swerve Strickland before you debuted him. And I just didn't like the way they did it. I felt like Bobby Lashley is a fantastic talent, and he's a guy who the crowd recognizes. Everybody knows his name. I feel like you could have just done a little bit more. And the whole time, MVP could have been dropping hints about the Hurt Business or the Hurt Syndicate, whatever they're going to go by, whatever they want to be called. He could have been dropping little hints about it and just building to this when Bobby Lashley finally debuts. I just feel like the pacing with AEW is sometimes really, really poor, and I feel like you could have did a little bit better of a job with Bobby Lashley in this debut. Would you have preferred something like what I just laid out, or did you think the way they handled it was good enough and it kind of helps move stuff along?
Agree. I agree with you. I think that returns are and debuts are of the utmost importance, and I just feel like AEW could have did better. And the reaction wasn't as big as I thought it was. I thought his music was great, very similar to the old. I thought at first he might have came up from the, come up from the ground or been on the podium, but I thought he looks great, and I'm very fascinated to see what he's going to do in AEW. He'll get a chance to shine.
Yeah, he definitely will get a chance to shine. He's going to be absolutely fantastic, I think, in this role, especially with MVP. To me, I think WWE, towards the back end of his run, whether it was Triple H or whether it was other powers that be in creative, just maybe didn't see the value in Bobby Lashley. I think Bobby Lashley, if you go back to right before he left TNA to go to WWE, he was doing some of his best work. If he gets to have some freedom, he gets a bit of a run like that, and he gets MVP, a guy who really seems to have his best interest at heart, kind of pulling strings and working and helping develop the storylines for him, I think he's going to be in fantastic hands, and I think he's going to be great. Was there anything else from AEW that really stood out to you? I know you said some of the stuff in the middle really caught your eye. I think we both agreed the private party match versus the Young Bucks was absolutely fantastic. And then obviously the debut of Bobby Lashley. But was there anything else that caught your eye? I know that there was a bit of a segment with
Hangman Page. You had a promo. You had Adam Cole and Buddy Matthews. I thought the show was pretty good all the way around. I thought the promos were really good. Orange Cassidy getting highlighted is always, a good moment. And I just think that, Adam Cole doing his thing, it's good to see, the part that's crazy is them teasing the re-injured ankle was crazy. I thought for a second, I'm like, oh no. But then you got the intrigue with Kyle O'Reilly watching, closely from the backstage. So there's some stuff with, Mark Davis confronting Kyle Fletcher, Hangman speaking. So all in all, a B+ show. I thought it was well worth it. A show that if you missed it, check it out. I thought the Fright Night edition of Dynamite was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good show, and you're right. There was a whole lot there. Really fantastic show. I thought it was good. You ready for some news and notes?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
So major injuries in TNA. This past weekend, TNA did a few tapings here in Detroit. Coming out of them were 2 major injuries to 2 major stars. At the recent tapings, El Hilo del Vikingo and Chris Bay were stretchered off with injuries during their matches. TNA has provided an update on both stars. Chris Bay is recovering at the hospital following surgery for the neck injury suffered Sunday night, and he had an MRI procedure on Monday. He was resting in his hospital room on Monday night, joking, talking about Bound for Glory, and in good spirits. Chris will be in Detroit for a few days, and family members will have joined him, along with TNA wrestling management and wrestlers who are staying in Detroit. Chris is under professional care and supervision, and the local medical staff has been in contact with his personal doctor. Vikingo returned to the Detroit hotel Sunday night after being treated at the hospital for a right knee injury. He is on crutches and wearing a leg brace. Vikingo flew home to Mexico on Monday, where he'll be examined and treated by his specialist. TNA Wrestling thanks everyone for their continued thoughts and prayers. We will update when we have additional updates are known. Please respect the privacy of Chris Bay and Vikingo and their families during this difficult time. Now, Ace Austin, Chris Bay's tag team partner, announced that Bay has started rehab for his neck here in Detroit. Now, Samantha Irving clarifies why she left WWE. On October 21st, Samantha Irving revealed that she had left her role as WWE ring announcer and would be exiting the company. Irving made the announcement on social media where she thanked the fans, WWE, the ring crew, and everyone in between. Replying to an Instagram user who said Ricochet was behind her departure, Irving elaborated and said that she didn't like being a ring announcer and had hoped to move on to a different role on WWE TV. She wrote, "I don't like announcing. I'm serious. Announcing was only supposed to be my way in. I wanted to manage, maybe even become general manager one day. But WWE saw no other future for me besides announcer. I love watching the action, but I don't love being an announcer." Now, Rhea Ripley is dealing with an injury, and it is confirmed to be a legit injury. On Tuesday, Rhea Ripley was on NXT, where the Raw star appeared in a backstage segment giving a pep talk in the women's locker room. Following the commercial break, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez were showing leaving the parking lot with a baseball bat before Ripley was found covered in her own blood. WWE has now stated that Ripley suffered a fractured right orbital socket and that she'll be out of action for an undisclosed amount of time. At this point, they've written her off TV indefinitely, they said. WWE shared the following on its official website. Last night on NXT, Rhea Ripley was heinously attacked in the parking lot by Women's World Champ Liv Morgan and her enforcer Raquel Rodriguez. Following the brutal attack, it has been revealed that the Nightmare has suffered a fractured right orbital socket, which will put Ripley out of action for an undisclosed amount of time. Ripley has also shared her x-ray on social media. The belief is that this happened when she performed the headbutt spot last Monday. She hit Raquel Rodriguez, if I remember correctly, with a headbutt, and I remember thinking to myself, man, that sounded really loud. Like, that didn't sound like it was fake. It sounded like she legit smacked her, and it was in that moment that they believe that she broke her right orbital bone. Now, this WWE star announced that they have re-upped with the company. Earlier, you spoke about Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast with Liv Morgan. On that show, she confirmed that she recently signed a new 5-year deal with the company. Morgan recently celebrated her 10-year anniversary joining WWE. Morgan signed with WWE in October of 2014. Her first appearance was actually as a fan who jumped the barricade to hug Tyler Breeze at NXT TakeOver Revival in February of 2015. She has held 2 women's singles titles in her career, first defeating Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship at Money in the Bank in 2022. After cashing in the Money in the Bank contract she won earlier that night, she is your current WWE Women's World Champ. That's the Raw title. So she's won 1 SmackDown title, 1 Raw title. Morgan has also held the Women's Tag Team Championships twice with Raquel Rodriguez. The crazy thing is, thinking about this, she was the 3rd member of the Riot Squad and probably the least talented at the time. She is the one member who has had the most success of anybody in that group, and she is currently the only one on TV. Think about that and let that marinate for a minute. This AEW star has not re-upped with the company. Per Fightful Select, Dustin Rhodes' contract has already come up, and although he has not yet left AEW and ROH, Fightful reports that his deal with the company was set to expire at the end of September or the beginning of October, and Rhodes has not wrestled for the company since then, despite currently reigning as both ROH Tag Team and ROH 6-Man Tag Team Champion. Fightful has confirmed that the negotiations between the two sides have been ongoing, but it was claimed that nothing has been done as of yet. The thoughts and rumors are that Dustin will join his brother Cody in WWE. We'll have to wait and see what takes place there. And finally, Vince McMahon has a new project in the works. Vince McMahon is reportedly preparing to start a new company with several WWE alumni said to be working on the project. A new report from PW Insider states that Vince McMahon has been in the process of starting what's been described as an entertainment hub company that would financially back, develop, and produce film and television productions. Sources close to the situation say the company isn't expected to launch anything similar to WWE, and it's expected to focus on fiction and non-fiction projects. According to the report, several WWE alumni are working on getting the projects prepared with the idea of unveiling it if/when McMahon's legal issues are resolved. And that's going to do it for this week's Wrestling News and Notes.
Yeah, just be careful with Vince's projects. If he pitches something where an 80-year-old billionaire falls in love with a 22-year-old professional wrestling star and they go off into the sunset and do their thing, you'll be like, oh, God, Vince. Okay, because, he does kind of like to blur the lines. And he likes to kind of insert himself into these highly sexually charged angles.
Good word. Good word.
Oh, man. Let me just say this. TNA, if you want a month free of their streaming service, promo code TNA free. They have it on their Instagram. You can get it for 30 days. You can watch all the Bound for Glories ever in the history of the world. AJ Styles did clarify that he was declining the opportunity to go into the TNA Hall of Fame, not because Triple H told him, but because he's an active wrestler. He's not disrespecting TNA. I just thought that TNA really did well with their Bound for Glory show. Really was tight, crisp, and it was really cool to see Rhino get into the Battle Royale. It was really cool to see the 20-man gauntlet match. It was really cool. Frankie Kazarian taking advantage of a little bit more run. He's creative, doing his thing, but man, real fast. Should they have put the belt on Joe Hendry? That was the thing that everybody was talking about. Talked to a Lions reporter about it too. They're printing money with him. not being the champion, but at that, it just seemed like a wasted opportunity. But at the same token, Nick Nemeth is the best wrestler they got there. So it was such a good debate to have because everybody came to see Joe Hendry win. I thought for a minute he could win it, but once the shenanigans started, it was crazy. But I thought, man, when are you going to put the belt on Joe Hendry? But at the same token, Kenny doused ice down my pants again, saying, look, can you really invest in the guy as the TNA World Champion when he's clearly WWE bound? He's the most over guy in the world. He's probably going to be a multimillionaire pretty soon. But at the same token, you could at least, sell some merch with him as a title holder. I thought it was a wasted opportunity. He's bound for glory. But you know what? It's kind of showcasing that, hey, when you're over, you really don't even need a belt.
Yeah, my thing was, if not now, then when? When are you going to do it?
Right.
So I was kind of surprised that they did not.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, I was too. But it's still a good show, and his entrance was sweet. You can check it out on our Twitter page, at Detroit Podcast. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter, at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network, again, at Detroit Podcast. If you've agreed or disagreed with anything that we've said on this episode, hit us up. If you think that something on Dynamite, Raw, SmackDown caught your attention, hit us up. We definitely love debating and talking with the fan base and the supporters about the world of professional wrestling. Stay tuned for next week as we recap Crown Jewel. What happens? Who goes over? What happens? Who gets the match of the night? Who has the spot of the evening? And let's make sure that everybody gets back safely. And moving forward, WWE has put out their calendar for their early stretch towards WrestleMania. And it'll be a fun opportunity as they hit the stretch towards Survivor Series and the end of the year. Cause great hour of talking professional wrestling. I can't wait to fire up the microphone next week for the next edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast.